sort of the way my brain is wired is anything that I'm like doing over and over again, I'm constantly figuring out, how do I make it so this becomes like pretty much brainless? How do I like make this mindless? I don't have to think about it, put too much effort into it, automate it. But even the stuff you can't automate, like how do I make it as like quick and painless of a process as possible?
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolfe and Joe Fier.
Welcome back.
Hey, we are starting out with with good energy.
Good energy.
I don't know. We're just taking screenshots again for our editor.
I would say silly energy. That's actually, what's funny? Okay, so let's talk about this for a second.
What's funny?
So you watched that Foo Fighters documentary that I was telling you about that Dave Grohl was talking about before they ever step up on stage. They make sure everybody in the band is laughing.
Having fun.
Yeah, they're all having fun. They're all laughing. They're all joking before they ever step on stage because then they bring that happy, goofy, silly energy up onto stage with him. Well, we've started getting into this routine of making thumbnails where we're looking at the camera doing like silly poses like, and like weird stuff like that. And we get ourselves cracking up while we're doing it. And then we hit record on the podcast. So like now we're jumping into the podcast like laughing and we have this weird energy going on and we're like ready to go.
Yeah. High five to that. So, we do a lot of those in the beginning. We gotta open and close our shows with high fives.
High fives.
That's good energy too. So
I just
spread the good energy, y'all, huh?
I just put methodical reasoning around us just screwing around. So there we go.
Yeah, man. So this is one of our solo episodes. We still don't have a name for these things.
Therapy session-ish.
Yeah, we've been calling them those.
The thing
but
is
we're on the hunt for maybe another, but this is more therapy session-ish.
Well, the funny thing is, like we said, let's stop calling them therapy sessions just because like we don't do as it's less like the therapy kind of topics.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as we said that, we've had a couple of people go, I really like how you call those things therapy sessions.
Dude, people like have some folks have already taken and run with the name.
Yeah.
We definitely we're working on some trademarks.
So I don't know, maybe they will be therapy sessions. What do you think?
What do you think? Yeah. They're weekly therapy sessions, basically. So every Tuesdays, we are basically releasing these bad boys. We record them roughly. I know we don't like to date our content, but a week before release.
Yeah. So we're actually recording this on July 6th, and it's coming out on whatever is the Tuesday after.
7 days from now.
The
or
13th-ish?
From now. Before now. At the time of the listeners.
Yes. So we recorded this last week.
So
but for us, it's today.
And it's always the present, Matt. Are you living in the present?
I am.
Good.
Always.
That's every minute.
Well, I'm trying to be, but
you are, you're not. It's a binary decision.
Okay. Yes, I am.
All right. So this episode, we're also always taking notes on your behalf.
Yeah.
And we want to give those to you gratis for a short period of time at least.
That means free.
Yeah, that means free for everyone else. If you go to flowchartgroup.com, it's when you go to flowchartgroup.com. Ideally, it's within 2 weeks of this episode going live. The episode notes are free. Actually, they're called action guides because they're actionable. Damn it.
Assuming we gave actionable advice.
I hope so. What the hell are we doing otherwise?
And didn't just talk about thumbnails for 2 hours, which there might be an episode about one day.
There might be some truth behind that.
Yeah.
The thumbnails are a thing on YouTube, y'all. Come on. Don't skip on those.
Yeah.
So we are taking actionable notes on your behalf. Actually, Stu is taking those actionable notes, and Alana finally edits those into what you can get for free within 2 weeks at flowchartgroup.com. That's flowchartgroup.com.
You also get to join our Facebook group, which is a bonus.
You can chat with Matt. You can get all the free consulting you ever want out of him. You can via the Facebook group. We pimp him out for nothing on the Facebook group, flowchartgroup.com.
Well, when you put it that way.
Well, your brain out, that is. You don't mind that, though. You love to solve problems, I hear, right?
Problems that I know how to solve.
Well, cool. Well, most of the problems that people are probably having can be directed to Matt inside of our Facebook group. So not only do you get these episode notes or action guides for free, you get Matt's brain. Gratis.
Joe's in there, too.
Go to flowchartgroup.com and go stalk Matt. All right, carrying on.
Okay. All right, what are we talking about today? Let's just get into the topic.
You're really nervous looking. What happened?
I didn't have a rebuttal.
I know. So, I noticed.
I was like, I'm going to say something that's going to put him in his place, and then nothing came out. So,
you're welcome. This episode, we were talking about last Friday, actually. we've been talking a lot about just dialing stuff in for our business and kind of thinking about the future a little bit. Remember, we've been like kind of looking at the outlook a little bit more of like where are we headed, and how about we align our actions in the now with where we want to go. So, this is looking at things like not just the stuff in our business, but it's like, wait, does promoting that thing make sense? Does joining that business as a partner, as like an active partner or equity partner, whatever, involvement in that thing, does that make sense? To where we're headed in, say, 10 years or beyond. That's like the bigger picture I think we've been talking about a lot lately in the last few weeks. I think we've kind of said that on these shows. And we were talking about how simple things like systems that you're really freaking good at. I was like talking through some of the issues that I have with just being consistent with like simple stuff like email. And like if for some other folks, it might be like doing sales calls or something that you just feel like is always something you should be doing, but there's not like a perfect system around it. And we were breaking down just how like little systems like that you kind of take for granted, but doing that and implementing things like that, like I've swiped a lot of your systems, like the email one. I'm like, wow, that's a great way to just drop a lot of like stress out of my mind. And so I can, we can basically optimize having more fun in the business. This is like the mantra lately. So I don't know, talking about like last Friday, I thought was kind of cool to carry on in this conversation.
Yeah.
As like how, we can engineer these little systems in our lives that, after you gave me like the 3-step system that you use when to clear your emails every single morning, that whole prompt, the reason why that conversation started is because like, I was like, damn it, I feel like I'm like, I just don't have a good system to clear out, and I don't say clear out emails, but like have a handle on just like, we all have a lot of platforms that we're communicating with a lot of people, and it's like, you want to get back timely, you want to organize, and you don't want to feel like you're constantly thinking about stuff throughout the day. So it's like unloading your brain with a nice system, but having a routine to pair up with it. And you gave that to me through email, and I'm like, that's a big piece of like how I feel like we've been building this business. And free our minds.
Sort of the way my brain is wired is anything that I'm like doing over and over again, I'm constantly figuring out, how do I make it so this becomes like pretty much brainless? How do I like make this mindless? I don't have to think about it, put too much effort into it, automate it. But even the stuff you can't automate, like how do I make it as like quick and painless of a process as possible? A lot of that I know is like my dad, when we worked at the shutter company, like he was real big on in the factory going and creating like these little jigs and these little like widgets, and he'd build these little things out of wood to make, cutting the things to the right size just like super easy. And like he was constantly finding ways to just make things a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, just like very, very marginal improvements. But over time, all of these little marginal improvements add up to like huge efficiencies. Right. And so
I didn't know that. That's your dad then.
Yeah, that's definitely how he operates too, is he's looking for ways to, okay, so this is how they're doing it now. Is there any way I can make it just a little bit quicker for them? And then once it's optimized and they're rolling with it, all right, what's another way we can make it a little bit quicker for them? And just constantly optimizing. And I feel like a lot of stuff with like my day-to-day and a lot of stuff that I do for our business, it's like that same sort of mentality. I'm just constantly looking at like everything as, how do I make this a little bit quicker? How do I make it a little bit easier? How do I make this take a little bit less time for me every day? And I think I do kind of just take it for granted. Like it's just the way I've always operated. And so like I've got all these systems, and then I'll just be at my computer one day and you'd be like, wait, what did you just do there? And I'll explain it to you, but you're like,
well, like example is his Rome research list. You have to-do lists, and you have all these things that are like pre-coded in text expander, I believe. And you have like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday, Sunday.
No.
Okay. And you have like every one of those has some short command inside of text expander that when you use it in your Rome research like tool, I guess Rome is such a weird name of a tool.
It's like a note-taking kind of tool.
And knowledge management tool. So Matt will go on every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, with a short code that's a text expander short code, and it expands all these things out. Every single day is slightly different, but also this is, to my point, the routines that, and maybe this is more the topic, so it's like now it's wordified, not quantified, but like it's basically like you have figured out how to systemize the common daily tasks that are very important in business. And those are the things that eat at me because I'm really shitty at creating those tasks. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until I feel like that at least. Maybe it's not true, but I'm more the one that's always going to jump on the most important thing. I think I know that, but there's always these death by a million cuts things. Like, oh crap, I didn't check the Facebook group today. I didn't jump. I didn't clear, or not clear. I hate saying that because it's like relationships, but I didn't go to Instagram and respond to these people that were asking me questions. Yeah, like that shit will eat at me. Yeah, and for you have simple systems to basically make sure that's not an issue. Yeah, and you clear that out in like an hour a day, and then you're like, the rest of the day's free. Yeah, I'm like, damn it, man, I'm stressing over here all freaking day.
Yeah, but that's actually my favorite part of the day, because then I'm like, what are you stressing about? Let's figure this out. Dude, I'm like, cool, I get to solve another problem.
Yeah, it was freaking 4 o'clock or whatever, maybe 3. I mean, this stupid stuff will eat at me, and I know it's just a lack of these simple systems and routines. So I figured it would be cool to share that here with maybe me asking you questions. Yeah. Maybe outline. So as an example, we can walk through that email thing. I can role play me, and you can do the same for yourself. Yeah.
And well, now that you've opened the loop on the Rome thing, I could break that down real quick first, and then we can talk about the email thing.
Well, yeah, let's start there. Like how you do that, I guess. Like the big picture.
Yeah, so basically what I'm doing is I use Rome Research. Rome Research, if you've ever used Workflowy, it's kind of similar to Workflowy, where it's this kind of like endless bulleted list, I guess is kind of how you describe it, but then you could kind of like go deeper and deeper and deeper into the bulleted list.
It's like an endless Google sheet, but without the formatting stuff. It's just like plain as you can come.
And you could kind of use like hashtags to be able to quickly jump to other things, and you can link between like topics and comments, and it's kind of a cool note-taking app where it makes it real easy to cross-link notes between each other.
Here's the thing, though. For people like Matt, it's amazing. For people like me, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing in there, and I've been using it for like 5, whatever, as long as you have. And I just haven't taken the time to come up with a simple system for myself to use Rome because it takes more of a systems approach and thinking about it. Well, it's not something you just want to jump in and like, bam, all right, you're using it.
So the first time you log into Rome, when you're in Rome, like when you open Rome, it shows like a daily sort of post. So if I logged in today, it would say July 6th, 2021 on the top, and then I can put notes under that date. And that's kind of like your starting point for every day. So what I do is on the date screen, I basically just create a task list every day of here's what I need to get done every day. But what I noticed was that all of the tasks that I was doing, most of them were kind of repetitive. Like check into the Facebook group, check my LinkedIn, respond to all of my emails. They were very sort of repeated every day. And there was a few things. Tuesdays and Thursdays, new episodes come out, so there was a few nuances on those days. So what I did was I went and got Text Expander, and Text Expander, you type in a little short code. Like for Monday, I would type ;MON, and then it would fill out my entire task list for Monday. It would just like paste in the whole task list for Monday. Yeah. And if there's any other things for that day, I would just, type them in manually on that day, right? Or some days I'll be like thinking about tomorrow, and I'll like jump to the calendar date tomorrow and like put the task in there or something. But I use a lot of the Text Expander codes to just pre-populate my task list and then add any additional tasks every day. And that's kind of like my Notion workflow. And then every day I have, or not Notion, Rome. Every day I have Rome open on my screen. I've got 2 monitors. One of them literally has Rome open all day long, so I can see all of my tasks for the day, and I actually put them in the order that I actually want to complete them in. So number 1 for me is clear out email. Number 2 is check in on the Facebook group, check in on the LinkedIn group, check in on all those kinds of things, and I just start working through them in order.
But you start with email.
I start with email.
So why do you start with email?
So my philosophy on email is I only check email for the most part. There's some exceptions, some OCD tendencies to just kind of like open it and be like, oh yeah, and then close it again. Yeah. But for the most part, I check email once a day, first thing in the morning, because
while you're on the pooper, or are you like on your phone?
No, I do it from my computer because I use Superhuman.
So you're basically at work. I was just like thinking, okay, is this like right when you wake up in the morning?
Yeah. Some days I'll do it from my laptop at home. Some days I'll do it first thing when I get into the office, like from that computer. But the email is the first thing I like to clear out, and I do it once a day, first thing in the morning, because then worst case scenario, anybody who emails me is going to hear from me within 24 hours for the most part, right? If I respond. Some people I just don't respond to because I'm like, it's not worth my time, but that's a whole different topic.
He never answers my emails.
Yeah. Well,
He's such a jerk.
when you email me from 20 feet away, it gets annoying.
Hey. Every email separately.
Every email from him is just like a meme that he found on Reddit. And he's like, look at this cool meme.
That's what I do all day long.
He just looks at memes and emails them to me from across the room.
Check this out.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I like to check my email just once a day, first thing in the morning. And like, I guess one exception would be like, if somebody says, hey, I'm going to shoot you an email right now, look out for it. I'll go look for it. But for the most part, I get in, clear out my email first thing in the morning, and then it's off my brain. I literally do not think about email for the rest of the day for the most part.
It's cool because I think this is like, it's so simple of a concept. Like, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, he's just checking his email. But I feel like with these routines, like if you don't have a good, healthy routine like this, and like where you have a simple system, which we'll talk about, like the tool that we both use, and also the 3-part process thing, to clear the emails, but also like how to take action on that stuff too. Like I feel like if you like zoom out a little bit to the macro of why this conversation, I guess it got me lit up a little bit, is like it's just a simple, like you could just look at one simple daily task, let's say, or a weekly task, and break it down into a few components, a few steps. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal. But like, if that's unchecked, like I've unchecked it for many years, and I'm in the game of talking to people, and we all are, but like, that's how I've like, I guess in our business, that's my little corner over here. And like, crap, man, if I don't have a system for that and making sure like I'm communicating with our connections, our friends, then like it kind of weighs on me. And I think a lot of folks can probably relate in some way, like some piece that's probably important that you do routinely and you're just like, don't have a good system around it. I feel like that would be a good, we could break down this email process, continue the path, and then maybe, I don't know, philosophies or other things that we can dive into. Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, my morning email process, when I go through emails, I kind of do 3 passes over my email. So I use a tool we both use a tool called Superhuman for email now. And it's really designed to kind of quickly get through email using short codes. Like I would say that's kind of the best way to describe it is you open up your email, it'll open up one email. And then when you're looking at it, you kind of decide what to do with that email. You can either leave it in your inbox. You can like archive it. I think it says mark is done, but it's basically archiving the email. You could give it a label so it goes into like a different folder, or you can tell it to return to you later. You could like, it's got like a built-in like boomerang kind of thing, like return this to me on Monday at 9 a.m. And then I think you can label it. Was that the one I missed?
Yeah, you said that, I think, but...
Or you can respond to it.
Yeah.
Or you can reply to
your
it.
action.
Right?
And this is all basically, just to say really for fast, Superhuman is like basically it's Gmail, but it has its own UI, user experience and interface. So it looks completely different.
And it's basically designed so you have like a bunch of short codes, like a key that you press on your keyboard. So I press this key to just like archive it, this key to leave it in my inbox, this key to tell it to come back to me, this key to give it a label, and then this key to reply to the email, right? So I actually programmed all of those hotkeys into my Stream Deck. So I just sit there and press buttons on my Stream Deck now. But you can, it's really easy with the keyboard too, once you figure out what buttons do what. So I take one pass on all of my emails. The first pass is just, do I need to do anything with this email? Because, you get you end up subscribing to lists and you buy products and get added to people's lists and you get the promotional emails and stuff. And I would say like 70% of the emails that come to my inbox, I literally don't need to respond. They're just an automated email from a company or something like that, right? So my very first pass is just keep archive. Like I just have my finger on those 2 buttons and I'm just going, do I want to keep this in my inbox? Do I want to archive it? Keep it, archive it, keep it, archive it.
So pause there for a second. So for those listening, Superhuman, what you can do, what the cool thing is, it's made for speed to like go through your inbox with lightning fast speed. You nailed that with this process. I've noticed that like even using Superhuman, I've had a hard time because of the lack of my personal system. That system might work, but my lack of like this 3-step process you're outlining and being like routine with it every day, like, hey, bucket this like in the morning before you get stuff started. Then a cool snazzy tool like Superhuman is kind of still useless, maybe even worse because it's a new environment. I think that's literally how I've positioned or how I've experienced it as of like now.
Yeah, and I really think the key is like once you understand the short codes, like not short code, but like hotkey that you press on the keyboard, and like you just kind of get your hand in position. You're just like do, and you're just kind of like making a quick analysis like right in the moment with your hand on the keyboard. That's when it gets like ultra fast, and you just blow through your emails.
And that's the other thing with Superhuman is like it actually opens the email up and you can read it. So you're not just like in Gmail clicking a freaking tick box, without opening emails. Like this one, you actually open an email, you see it, and you're like, archive. Or whatever button on your keyboard, and then it immediately opens the next email without you clicking a single button. So it's like, you get a Hustle and Flowchart email, from us. Archive. Those guys suck. Podcast or Pod Hacker email from us. Oh, those guys are cool. All right. And I'm going to save that for later today. I want to read or respond to or whatever. And you can do that all with just like burp, 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 burp. Yeah. And you can cycle through hundreds of emails like lightning speed.
So I'll do it in like 3 passes. And my first pass is just, do I want to keep this in my inbox right now? Or there's nothing I need to do with this, get rid of it. And most automated email lists that I'm still on, like I don't really read them. I just kind of like look at the subject line and go, not interested, not interested, not interested.
To be honest, most people don't.
So like I'm sitting there and that will normally narrow it down by like 70%. Let's say I start with 100 emails in the morning. I'll have like 30 after that process, right? And that now when I look at that 30, now I have to decide, do I want to, is this something that I need to reply to? Or is this something that I want to like label for later? I'm trying to remember. So my first pass is to go and I might be skipping a step here.
I think you are skipping a step.
Trying to explain it out loud is more difficult than actually just doing it in practice. So so the first step is keep it in my inbox or do something. So the second pass through is, do I need to respond now? Or do I need to, or is it something that
you do later?
That I can respond to later, right? Like somebody might email me and I can go, oh, I don't need to respond to this one till Monday, right? Or maybe there's like a login that I just got, and I'm not going to need that login till Tuesday because I'm not going to be at the office till Tuesday or whatever, right? So those kinds of emails, if I don't need to do anything with it right now, I do that second pass on like, do this later, or keep it in my inbox. Do this later, keep it in my inbox. So that's my second pass. And so I will take, at that point, maybe 25% of the emails I can do something later with these, right? And then the final pass is basically going through and either replying to the email or labeling it. So I have a bucket that I call future reference, and my future reference bucket is where I throw emails that have like login details. If I purchase a product and it's got a login, I'll throw it in my future reference bucket, right? So that final pass through, a lot of times it's just 5 or 6 emails I got to reply to, and maybe 2 or 3 login or transactional emails that I'm going to need to access later. So at that point, I'll either reply or throw it into the future reference bucket.
Got it. With future reference emails, you don't do like any, well, it might be like, hey, throw this in Evernote or something as well, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe later. Or as an action, but probably not if you're just throwing
for the most part.
I
just kind of leave them in the future reference label, and then if I need the login, I'll search that.
Yeah. I guess Gmail's really freaking good at just searching. So. Yeah. Cool. I mean, so to recap, first step is pass through and archive. That doesn't matter. Something that you just don't care about. Second stage is to reply later, or like schedule it, or leave it for the third pass. And then basically third pass is either reply or label.
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, and because I was thinking, like,
you should be at inbox 0 by the time you do that whole process.
So the other part of that, you were saying that you do that every morning, and what is that? And that's before. Well, it's typically like in the office. I've noticed, like you say, you clear that out at home.
But sometimes I do it when I get here, but yeah.
yeah. I guess that doesn't really matter. But the point, I think what I was going to say is, like, you actually contain a time in the morning where you're like, okay, like I want to get this shit done.
Yeah.
Because after this window of time, or like the later it gets, basically the more this stuff might fester in my mind. I mean, I don't know is that the case for you? If like you think like, oh, I got to get back to this person, or there's an email sitting there that I know is there, but I haven't really done anything with it yet.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of important feeling. Or
I just get the email out of the way early, so I just know it's not like there's nobody waiting on stuff for me specifically. But at the end of the day, like we had this conversation too about my philosophy on email. If somebody needs to communicate with me through email, it's probably not the most important thing on earth, right?
Yeah.
There's other ways to get a hold of me. The most important things are probably going to come through, carrier pigeon. No, the most important possible things are probably going to be somebody calling me up to tell me if there's an emergency or something like that, right?
Basically, make yourself hard to get.
Yeah. So like the the really, really important people in my life have like my phone number and can either call or text. So when there's like an emergency, the communication's going to get to me. The second tier beyond that is we've got Slack. That's where all of our team members are. So if Jacob or Sue or Joe or anybody that's like working with us needs to get a hold of me for something team related in the business, I've got that secondary channel.
Yeah.
And then like thirdly would be like email and social media channels. Like the like least important stuff is going to flow through those channels.
Yeah.
It's like family members, business partner, like really close friends all have a direct line to me. Team members and stuff have a direct line to me. Anything that doesn't fall within one of those categories, it's probably not life-threatening. It's probably not going to ruin my day if it gets missed for, another 24 hours.
Yeah, I dig it. I mean, there's probably other parts of life that probably can have simple systems like this that can like take a load off our minds. Because, I mean, I don't know if we should brainstorm that or if there's somewhere.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
there's condition. That's what I wrote.
For me, I've systematized all sorts of stuff in my life, but I don't even realize that I systematized it because it's literally a second nature to me. Well, so you can ask like, what systems have you created? And I'll be like, I don't know. But then when you point to something, I'll be like, yeah, here's how I do it. And you're like, dude, that's a system.
Well, let's talk through your Rome list, your daily task list. Because you have that, you said you organize that in order of how or when you want to get them done. So the first is clearing email. So is there what's up with the order? Like how do you arrange that?
There's a few things. I don't know how to say this without with sounding bad, but there's a few things in the business that I'm not a huge fan of, like the things that I don't really enjoy doing.
Who are you gonna piss off, Matt?
Oh, the listeners, maybe? I don't know. No, there's a few things in our business that I don't always enjoy doing. Some of the things include email and getting into certain websites and managing those areas.
Wow, I'm getting you in all kind of trouble today. I'm sorry.
I'm not a fan of social media, damn it. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't like getting on frickin' Facebook.
I'm so uncomfortable. It's great. I love it.
I don't like Facebook. I don't like LinkedIn. I don't like Instagram. I don't like the social medias, damn it.
Don't let it have so much power over you. Guess what, Matt? I hate them just as much as you do.
Okay, so
but I just give them a nice middle finger from my mind.
So basically,
and I don't give them my energy.
Coming back around to what your initial question was, is I eat that frog, right?
That's good, right? Brian Tracy.
I do the stuff that I really don't want to be doing, and I just get it out of the way as early as possible, so it's not on my mind the rest of the day.
So you do it through frustration, and also. Just F this. Yeah. I don't want to do this, so I'm going to get it done earlier.
I wouldn't say it's through frustration. It's just kind of like I do the stuff I least look forward to first.
Okay.
Right? So that all that's left for the day is the stuff I do look forward to.
We should be stacking a lot of phone calls early in the morning for you then.
Not a good idea because my brain does not I'm not a morning person.
I know.
Anybody who knows me personally knows that like I'm on fire at night, but don't talk to me in the morning.
No, he will punch you square in the face.
Yeah, like, my neighbors hate me. They're like, "Good morning, Matt."
So
I haven't had my coffee.
Oh yeah, watch out.
So yeah, it's not out of frustration.
Okay.
It's just kind of like these are the things I'm least looking forward to. This is the stuff I'm looking forward to. Let's just get that out of the way. That way I can get into flow.
I like it. Okay, yeah, it's just getting you into the flow state. So that's cool. So I think there's momentum of task completion too, right? Isn't there some like philosophy is like you start with the easiest task first and then you kind of build from that point on. Like start by whatever's easiest. I don't know.
Well,
Write down your 3 goals for the day or something.
Well,
what are you grateful for?
The first few tasks that I do every day are, they are probably the most like easy, mindless kind of tasks. And that does kind of get you in the habit of like checking off something on my list every day, So yeah, for sure.
So cool.
A little momentum build to get it going.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's what I was going to say is conditioning. So it's interesting, like through your dad, going back, I guess maybe wrapping up all the way back to artisan days. I didn't know he was like the efficiency guy.
Oh yeah.
So
that's what he went to school for and everything. His degree was in operations management or something like that, and he really, really learned all about like creating systems around everything.
Got it. Okay. So I would say you get probably that stuff from him then. Yeah, for sure. Okay. That's cool. So it's like I'm just thinking the whole like conditioning stuff because we've been talking a lot about patterns and like how like the the previous episodes we've talked about freaking just the need to be working or doing something and not like the guilt associated with it and all that. And that's just conditioning again. So it's just kind of cool that like, quality control of your systems of your day can be like thrown into the mix here of like creating just a really cool lifestyle so you can free your mind too. Where to go now?
Well, I think there's a lot of like other sort of system stuff that we're doing. It's just stuff that I'm so close to that it's hard for me to like pinpoint it and be like, ooh, there's another one that we should talk about.
Well, the task list. Did we get through that whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, in Rome, I think it's really
Pretty
as simple as it sounds. I feel like in my mind, that's why I don't share that stuff as much, because it feels so simple in my mind that I'm like, is this something that's valuable to people? And then you and I start talking about it, and like
maybe it's just me though.
And that's So I mean, this is probably a total waste of time for everybody listening.
Maybe I'm just the only idiot in the room.
I don't think so. I do. It's always interesting to me when other people are like that they struggle with email, because to me I just feel like email is such an afterthought. Or
how about when you have multiple platforms thrown in the mix? I mean, that's just one example though, because some things like I think people just I don't know. For me, maybe it's just like there's certain things I'm like I just don't kind of want to do it. And maybe but it's like the repetitive thing that's like,
what are some of the things that you find where you're just like, I don't really want to do that?
I mean, honestly, it's like, I don't want to sit around and just text all day or type all day, you know? So, I mean, it could be, I think it's more of a mental, like, psyching myself out too. And it's like, okay, well, I know within emails come probably some thinking time and some actions. And I want to I don't want to spend a lot of time because I want to do some of these other things. And it's a priority thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's more built up in my mind more than anything. And I think that's the bigger picture here is like creating just a simple system and then having a time dedicated in your day. Even if it's like 30 minutes, it's like, cool. Well, you can, knock out that stuff in 30 minutes, follow in the system, and then like, you don't have to think about it. And I think it's just more of that, like having a simple system for repetitive stuff that maybe you enjoy, but maybe you just don't. But like, I think for me, it's more like I won't think about it unless I have like a system defined and like when I'm going to do that thing.
Yeah.
Or else it's just like I'm going to pop in like whenever kind of thing. And it's like, because you got to think Facebook, you have a platform there, Instagram, you have LinkedIn, you have all these like places that people are trying to buy or get attention or have a conversation with you.
Yeah. I think for me, I've sort of reframed work a bit, right? Like, and I know you and I both have a little bit, but I've reframed work as almost like coming into the office and recording our content and making videos and having conversations and game planning the business. I've reframed that as like, that's the fun time. Like that's like that's like the hobby of mine. That's the exciting thing. That's the fun thing that I want to finally get to. The stuff like email, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, filling in spreadsheets and, making sure everybody has what they need on Slack from me for the day and all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that in my mind, I've sort of compressed into like, that's my work. That's the work I got to get done.
Yeah.
So now I know coming to the office and creating content and game planning business strategies, that's the fun thing I'm looking forward to. And I got to get my work done before I'm allowed to do that. Right. And so that's sort of how I've like reframed it, is like, I got to get my work done because it's time for me to go have fun.
Got to play now.
Right. Okay. So when I think about it from that angle of like, I got to get the emails cleared through. I got to check in on the Facebook group. I got to check in on LinkedIn. I got to send Joe some stuff that he needs for this email that's going out today.
Got to get on TikTok and do my dance.
I got to do TikToks and boogie a little bit. I got to
boogie, huh? All right, that's your style.
Like in my morning, like it's almost like the task list that I create in Rome is like, all right, this is the stuff I want to clear out as quickly as possible because then the rest of the day is fun.
No, that's cool. Like, and I think that whole of like front loading things. I mean, talk about shit, man. Like there's a lot of us. I hope I'm not the only one that like feels like you just like, oh, there's another thing. I got to go run this way, and like, or my attention goes that way, or family thing. Like I priority one, family. So like I'm there first, but that might derail me from this other. And I think that's like where a lot of us might struggle with. And I think, and obviously it's human nature too.
Oh, for sure. And
so it's got to be a mindset thing, framing, like you said.
Yeah. Well, and one of the beauties of like Rome and the way I do my task list too is when stuff comes up, for the most part, there's very few things that I feel like need to be acted on right this moment, this instant. So whatever I'm doing in most cases is more important than whatever to-do just came in, right? So
that's so damn true.
When a new to-do comes in, somebody messages me on Slack and says, hey, can you take care of this for me? I'll usually respond and be like, yeah, I'm on it. Got to finish something real quick first, right? Something like that. And then I'll literally take the thing they just asked me to do and make a task list on Roam. So now it's just added to the bottom of my task list, right? So that's how I handle that kind of thing. And then my to-dos, this was another thing we were talking about last week, is on my to-do list, I actually have a little column that says shift to different day, and I'll move to-do items throughout the day to shift to a different day, because some things I'll be like, is it really that big of a priority if I get this done today versus tomorrow? No. Okay, well, this is going to take priority then, and I'll shift this to tomorrow.
Got it.
And then it shows up on my Roam for tomorrow, is in tomorrow's task list. Now, if you do that too much, it starts to stack, and now you have a day where you're like, crap, I got 100 things on a day. So if I push it out to tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow. But, I do have this sort of like room for grace to push some task items to tomorrow if there's things that I feel like are prioritized. But I almost never, ever, ever prioritize the most recent thing. I always prioritize what I'm in the moment doing.
Yeah, which should be the priority that you've chosen to take at that time, for sure.
And I think there could be a little bit of I could see both angles, but I think some people have a philosophy of like, this will only take me 2 minutes, so just do it now and get it over with so it's off my plate.
Right.
I more have the philosophy it'll take 2 minutes. Cool, I'll put it on my list, and I'll take that 2 minutes when I get a chance.
I think my default, and I know this has been, it's been confirmed through that Kolbe test. So those listening, Kolbe, Kolbe.
Yeah.
We took that test, and it basically showed like I was a super high quick start, and you were much lower, if not the lowest. I don't know where you were. I forget the numbers now, but I was like basically the opposite of you. And that's just my nature, and not everyone's the same, but there's definitely a spectrum. And that's where it's like, I would totally default to like, it's just a couple minutes. Like, no problem. And then like you start stacking a couple of those, and then you're like, crap, what was I doing? Oh shit, that's already been an hour now.
Yeah, you stack enough of those and you're like, where'd my day go?
Well, that's, and I think with my personality, so speaking of my thing, like without the systems approach and having like a nice routine and maybe time blocking for those set, it's not that reliable, obviously, for those reasons. But then, like you kind of said last week, it's interesting how we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and things I take for granted, or things that you might not, you might have to think more about, or maybe just you don't have a good process or whatever around. And then vice versa, obviously with systems, you just take it for granted. So I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly like one of my favorite things is when you start saying, here's something that's like kind of on my plate, and then I like to break it down and go, all right, let's step back, let's look at this, let's kind of break down the parts, and let's figure out how to make this piece a little bit easier. Like, I freaking love that stuff.
Yeah, you're good at it, man.
And it's not, and a lot of times I'm suggesting stuff that I don't even do myself, but I'm suggesting it as like that makes, a lot of times I'm telling you, but I'm also telling myself on some of the ideas too. But like, I like that kind of thing. Like, to me, that's really enjoyable to go, okay, this is a problem somebody's having. Do I have something locked up here? Is there some way I'm doing it? Is there a reason it's not, that problem isn't also a problem for me? Let's figure out where that gap is.
Yeah, man. And that's, you got it dialed in. So like when I know some of the things you're helping out are like, okay, so the affiliates for PodHacker, we're like, okay, cool. Let's dial in a system around that where it's like a mini CRM that we're going to put into ClickUp. And, that's something that essentially you and I have been collaborating. I mean, we've done this on a lot of stuff, like even like the podcast guest system. We're kind of reworking that, like what's the process of introduction to doing something, action. But it's like, it's cool because we could bounce ideas of like what I'm seeing and like what I think at maybe a bigger level or in the outcome of where we want to go. And then you're like, okay, here's how I would approach it. And like, I usually throw a bunch of ideas to you and you're like, okay, cool. So with that, we're going to cut like 90% of that. And like, we're going to do the minimum viable thing to get to the output what we want. So it's like the best guest in our podcast. Yeah. Or freaking knock out email in 30 minutes. And now you have a whole day of freedom, mental freedom.
Yeah, so. It's true. I think, we have a tendency to put more importance on a lot of things that don't need the importance we put on them. Does that make sense? Like, we'll have a lot of things on our daily list, and then we'll stress ourselves out because we don't get to a couple of them. But then when you look at it and we're like, okay, if that doesn't happen today, what is the negative consequence?
Yeah.
most of the things that are on the list that we don't get to don't have that negative consequence, right? Like a lot of times, you might be stressing out about, I haven't responded to this email and I really want to send a response to it, but if you were to send that email tomorrow and just be like, hey, sorry, I got back to you a little bit slower than I wanted to, but here's my response.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to be like, a lot of the stuff that like we sort of put the importance out of proportion a little bit.
Totally. No, I couldn't agree more, man. And that's where I think unchecked, at least in my mind, maybe it's the personality thing, and I'm sure this shows up in everyone's life in some other way, some other input, but it's like it's shaking through this personality that we all have, like the Colby score. Okay, what's the what happens? Okay, Joe's gonna want to go do some cool stuff over here, but crap, Joe didn't check that he has another call coming up right before he just scheduled that thing, and now he's got 5 calls in a day. What the hell did Joe just do to himself? What? By the way, I'm describing Joe of like the last couple years.
You've definitely gotten better about that,
dude. Well, it's because you've like scared me straight, and I feel like, slotting Wednesdays as a no work day for us has forced me to then, basically act like I have no time available.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I did. And I challenge myself. Every month I trim back more availability on my Calendly schedule.
Yeah.
I go to my master availability and I Friday afternoon, or after 3 o'clock or noon, I think is where it's at now. Nope. You're not getting a hold of me. And I think Friday is probably gonna go away pretty soon, so then I only have 3 days a week someone can get a hold of me.
It's funny,
and I want to turn that shit to nothing.
When it comes to Calendly, I don't have a personal Calendly where people can book my time.
For you.
I literally don't have a calendar. The only thing that people can book in for me is to be on the podcast when we send our podcast booking info.
Or when I berate your calendar.
Yeah, you'll add stuff to my calendar from time to time. But other than you adding stuff to my calendar, people can't book in on Calendly.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to have a call with me, unless I'm scheduling to be on their podcast or something, I prefer to do the manual way of going back and forth through email. Put a little bit more of a barrier to my time to people.
I think it's smart.
Having to reach out and go back and forth on finding that ideal time is a barrier that keeps some people from scheduling the call with me.
Yeah.
And it's not like an introversion thing either. It's just I value my time more than I value most of the phone calls I'm on.
For sure. Well, and see, that's the thing. I used to freaking hand out my Calendly link like hotcakes. And not that hotcake, but expensive
I've never handed out a hotcake, so
I don't even know what they are.
Pancakes, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, Canada. So, hey, Canadian friends. So, no, I definitely would say, that was the other thing. I would always trim back the options on my Calendly to 30 minutes is the shortest, and now it's 15. So it's nope, let's cut everything in half.
Yeah.
And but I'm very selective with that now. So I think that's just come to realize I don't got to do it all.
I don't got to do it all. The system thing, I feel like I can talk about all day, but I need to be prompted, let's talk about this system. Let's talk about this system. Let's talk about this system. Because I honestly don't think that my systems are systems until you point them out to me, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I did create a system around that.
Yeah.
It's the type of thing where my brain just constantly goes, how do I make this easier on myself? How do I make this easier on myself?
Yeah.
And the next thing I know is over time, it's now a system.
And that's the conditioning from your dad, I would think.
Well, it is. Yeah. It is. But the point being, it's hard for me to go, all right, here's the 10 best systems that you can implement in your business.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff that I have systematized, I don't think of as a system. So until somebody points it out to me, I'm almost blind to it.
Well, it's a habit, I guess, at this point.
When I was sharing with you yesterday or on Friday how this is how I flow through my emails, you're like, dude, that's a badass system. In my mind, I'm like, that's just how I do my emails. I just to me, that's just what makes the most sense. And it's not it's not something that I'm going to create a system around. It was just something that over time I've just refined the process and refined the process and then refined the process, and that's what works best for me. And then you see me do that and you're like, that's a badass system. I'm like, I guess it is. And so same with the Roam stuff, right? With Roam, it's I go and I start using Roam and I'm like, I don't know if I really like Roam. Am I going to be able to keep up with this? Let's do it for a week. I'm going to try to plug in a task list every day for a week. And then I start to notice every single day, 4 of the tasks are the exact same task from yesterday and the day before and the day before. And I'm like,
so
ooh, maybe I can go and use Text Expander since I'm reusing this over and over again, and that'll just make that a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And so then I start using text expander for like each individual task. And then I'm like, if I made one for each day, I can just auto-populate all the tasks at once instead of having... So then in like 1 click, I can do what I used to do in 4 clicks. And now I have a new text expander that makes Roam a little bit faster, right? And now I'm working through it that way. And then I start to realize like, okay, there's some days I push things off. How do I account for the things that I don't get done today? And then I realize Roam has its own separate like to-do list. And now I start throwing things in the like, do this one tomorrow, and then the to-do list will pop it up for me tomorrow, so I'll add it to my to-do list and it just gets like more and more and more dialed in, and it's like I've been using Roam for maybe a year now. I've been using Superhuman for maybe 6 months now. And this is just like my current iteration. This is just like my current evolution of those tools. But you're damn right, I'm going to make them more systematized.
Every
and
day.
We can have this call a year from now, and you're going to be like, tell me about your new Roam system where it just does it all for you.
Ooh, the AI is taking over.
But it's just like
your Neuralink.
It's just like how I'm wired, but I'm not like... It's not like I'm sitting around thinking up systems. It's just this stuff becomes systems over time.
Well, here's the thing. You just said the key thing of where that rabbit hole, or where I was headed actually before we had to edit something out, I think, is the way that we're positioning the show. Remember, I was starting to talk about the way that we want to really speak to our younger selves when we were starting out in business. And like you just said, systems are built over time. And obviously it's through failing a lot or working too hard or whatever. So that's all going to come with time.
Yeah.
But now we have the ability to share that with others who might be experiencing this, and I'm sure we would have really benefited if we knew this like 10 plus years ago too.
Yeah. So I think all of that to say, like to tie it in a bow from what you're saying and from what I'm saying is like anybody who might beat themselves up because they're like, man, I suck at systems. Like I probably did too, but this is just like an evolution, and it's not something that's just like all right, this is something I need to do, let's build a system around it. This is something that like 13 years of being in a online digital marketing business, these are kind of the like evolution of where I'm at now.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's cool is, like, and from my side of the spectrum, the non-systemized guy, like I could tell, like, you were the actually way back in the day, I remember you were the one that got me using a calendar, like an online calendar to actually schedule things out.
Yeah.
Like I had no other person in my life that was like, oh, you should organize your time.
Yeah.
And oh, you should, like, literally, like my parents didn't help me there.
Yeah.
And like,
not like a Calendly, just like a, hey, put it on a Google Calendar so you can see what's coming up.
Yeah. And this was before I think it was like really known, like, oh, you could just manage everything through that, or it just wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't natural, I guess. Now it seems like it's so natural.
You have to plug it in your BlackBerry.
Something. I don't know what the heck I had. But you were the first one that had me like, okay, crap. Okay, I'm going to schedule. I'm going to be here at your house at this time. Because, like, that wasn't really something on my radar. I'm like, I'll get there. I have 15 minutes or whatever. Like, literally, that was an issue. I feel like it wasn't an issue because I would, like, it's expectations, you know? So I think that is, well, that doesn't happen anymore. But to your point, like, I don't think a lot of, or I don't know, someone's point, not everyone's a systems person.
Yeah.
And I definitely was not. I wasn't raised that way, really. But you were. Yeah, it seems, or at least, like, you had a lot of conditioning, but you also have a personal preference to, like, make it easier every single day.
Yeah.
You lean that direction.
Well, yeah. And
so it's cool to, like, kind of to poke at that a little bit and see what the heck's going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be quite honest, like, as we're having this conversation, I'm sort of like going, that's why that's like that. That's,
What else? Like, what's coming to mind?
Well, I mean, like what you're just saying, like I'm putting the pieces together that, like, this is exactly how my dad was when he was running the Shutter Company. Like, I'm putting some of those pieces together and I'm putting the pieces together of, like, people tell me I'm good at systems. I've never really been like, I'm a really, really good systems guy.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm looking for shortcuts all the time. I'm trying to shortcut everything I'm doing. It's not in like that, like, bad shortcut, like get rich quick way. It's just like, okay, this thing's taking me 10 minutes. I bet I could figure out how to do it in 5 instead.
For sure.
Just make everything quicker. Take a little less brain power. I did this in school. When I was in frickin' college, I outsourced my term papers on Elance.
That's the best shit.
Like, I was like, how do I make this quicker? Right? Like, here's the bullets of of what the paper needs to be about. Here's the main things. They want this stupid thing to be 2,500 words. Here's 200 words that explain what it is. Expand it to 2,500 for me. Cool. I just got my essay written. If you're in school, don't do that. That's illegal. But I did.
But if you're in school, you could probably use conversion.ai and and do some really cool stuff.
Yeah, let's teach kids how to cheat on tests or on term papers.
But my younger self, I think I was still. No, I don't think I was in college anymore. I think I was done already.
No, I was way out of college.
Like 10 years.
10 years ago, I was out of college.
Yeah. All right, that's. No, this is. I think it is really cool to see. Like, there's. I don't know.
So I mean, it's interesting to me to see where the systems come from, right? Like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there, a lot that we've interviewed on this show that are like, you need a system, just go install it, right? Here's a system, just take this and plug it into your business, just install this system. But I don't feel like that's how it works, right? I don't feel like I can take a system that this business that has different customers, different messaging, different day-to-day tasks that they need to get done, different personalities, different, like the system that works for their business is not going to be plug and play in my business. Systematizing a business is an iterative process. It's a process of, here's what I'm doing right now. How do I make it a little bit quicker? All right, now I'm in a flow of doing it a little bit quicker. How do I make what I'm doing now a little bit quicker? Yeah. How do I, and then you free up time, you add more stuff to your plate, the new stuff that you add to your plate. All right, how do I systematize this stuff now? How do I make this a little bit quicker? How do I make this a little bit easier?
Build on what's working.
Yeah, and it's just that like iterative process over time. And I think you, like from what you're saying, like you kind of beat yourself up of like, oh man, I'm not systematized enough. But I bet there's a shitload of places in your life where you are systematized that over time through trial and error, you just kind of like, this is just the way I do it, you know? Yeah.
And actually, you know, this comes back to Atomic Habits and like the whole, think. And then it's the 3 steps. And obviously I need to go reread that book. Like to establish a habit.
And some of this I know is kind of getting overlapped with some of the stuff we talked with Angelo about. So like I got to make sure that like some of this we credit to Angelo and some of it we credit to Atomic Habits. But there's some definite crossover between the philosophies there. But you've got your thoughts, and then your thoughts can become actions, right? You can think this way, but until you actually start acting the way you're thinking, and then from actions need to become habits and then habits become identity. Right, so it goes in that order of thoughts, action, habits, identity, right? And where the real change happens is when you identify as something, right? Like you can think about eating healthy, like you know that if I cut out a lot of sugar and I cut out these certain ingredients, maybe I ate less carbs and stuff like that, I'm gonna be overall healthier. You can think that. But if you're not doing anything about it, nothing's going to change, right? And then you can start taking the actions that do it. But if you feel like, okay, I'm just doing these actions because I know these are the actions that are supposed to happen, you're probably going to eventually stop doing it. So you have to create habits around it. So you start creating habits around eating healthier to make it a little bit easier, right? And if you create habits around eating healthier, like, okay, we don't allow sugar in our house. The only time I can have sugar is if we're eating out and going somewhere else, right? Now you're installing habits to make it easier to take the actions. And then over time, you do those habits enough. Now you identify as somebody who's healthy. And if you identify as somebody that's healthy, you start taking continue to take the actions and continue to build the habits that keep you healthy, because that's who you identify as. And people protect their identity with every freaking fiber of their being. They don't want anybody to see them as different than their internal identity is. So if you identify as somebody that's healthy and they catch you eating a donut and that sort of has a negative impact on who you identify as, you're probably not going to eat that donut when you're around people who know, So there's this whole progression. And once you identify as somebody that acts this way, then you continue to act that way, because now you're protecting that identity that you've created for yourself.
You want to be seen otherwise.
Yeah.
Thank you for breaking that down. Yeah. You wise one, you.
Everything I ever say
credited
is just a reflection of the people that tell me stuff in the books that I read.
And the things that stick.
Yeah. I don't think I have any original thoughts. I just literally regurgitate what other people tell me.
I don't think anybody has original thoughts. Just mashed them all up into our own little language.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, this is good, though. And, so at the end of the day, I think that is powerful, and we're going to have Angelo on. So I know we're recording this week.
Yeah, so he'll be on in a few weeks.
So we will be talking about the identity thing and kind of from his perspective, breaking it all
he'll
down.
probably break it down a lot better than I did. And it'll be a whole episode about that topic. So.
Exactly. So that's going to be a good time. Thank you for sharing the email process. Hopefully that helped y'all as well, and how maybe that can apply to something else in your life. Kind of going through those simple processes.
And for those of you who hung with us, I know it was touch and go for some of this episode, but I think we got to some good stuff.
Let's hope so. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Did you?
I always have a good time.
Good. This was fun. We have little stickers that say this is going to be fun everywhere now.
Yeah, we do.
You printed them off on your little label maker.
Yep, and they're all over now.
Yeah, they're all over.
It's like a little Easter egg hunt in our office.
So where can you find a big sign?
Yeah,
like we were saying. We're also going to upgrade the set that we're on right now. So we're gonna put more of our vibe in here. Mm-hmm. So expect more to come on the YouTube channel if you're watching there, or if you haven't heard about it, go to hustleandflowchart.tv because you will find our fine faces and a cool background that we're going to upgrade fairly soon.
Yeah, it's gonna get more floral.
Floral, lit up.
Yeah.
We're always adding new stuff in here. We're experimenting.
Yeah,
so
look,
we just want to show you
like,
the journey.
like our Trevor Hoffman that we have not even acknowledged for the entire episode.
He is a fine fellow, and he is a bobblehead.
Yeah. So if you're watching this on
Bobbleheads
YouTube, you're seeing
I guess.
Joe's little Trevor Hoffman bobblehead.
We're gonna bring more tchotchkes into here. Basically,
we want to look like Joe Rogan's set,
our own,
but
set.
with Padre stuff.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah.
Hey, Trevor.
It kind of looks like him. It's not bad.
It's supposed to look like him.
Yeah, I know. But bobbleheads, come on.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, check us out on YouTube. That's hustleandflowchart.tv. And if you're watching this, thank you. And what else we got? So get the action guides, of course, flowchartgroup.com. 2 weeks, they're free. And Matt's over there in his brain, and he wants to solve all of your problems. So you have to go to flowchartgroup.com.
We're thinking about setting up a Discord group, and we might move some of our community from the Facebook group over to Discord. Idea we're toying with. Let us know and support. Email info@evergreenprofits.com and let us know what you think about that idea, or let us know in the Facebook group. We want to engage more. We actually don't think Facebook's a very good platform to engage with you. So let us know what you think of the idea of Discord, because we're probably going to set up a Discord for followers of our channels.
I think that'd be pushing the puck where it's headed. Yeah, we'll
getting to where the puck is headed.
We'll be riding that puck.
Yeah,
because I feel like
right on top of the puck.
Right on top. We're just right along with it.
Sit on the puck and ride.
Why not?
Yeah,
it's an autonomous puck.
Yeah.
We're just going for the ride.
Yeah.
To the race spot.
I'm down with that. I could get on
Not
board
bad,
with that
right?
analogy.
That's
I
just
guess.
You just lay back and let the puck go. You're gonna head where it should go.
Yeah, hopefully in the goal.
That's where a puck's always should go, right? Or else we're following the wrong analogy.
Yeah, I think the analogy was kind of lost a few minutes ago.
It's gone.
Yeah.
In your mind. Yeah. So, good times. Let's see.
We got one more thing we got to say. Easy webinar.
We have Easy Webinar. I thought there was a couple other things, but I think we are good. Easy Webinar.
Easy Webinar. That's our email. No. That is our webinar platform of choice. easywebinar.com/hustle is where you should go to get it. If you go to easywebinar.com/hustle, they're giving you a fat discount. Easy Webinar, it does the live stuff, does the automated stuff, does the hybrid stuff.
Scheduled stuff at all crazy frequencies.
Yeah, so if you want to be like, hey, we've got a webinar at Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Thursday at 2 p.m., you pick your time, you could do that stuff. It's got all the streaming. It
has landing pages you can create. And
good ones, too.
They look good. They do. It basically, you don't have to be a wizard on the tech stuff like Mr. Matt over here, and you could just... You're not that wizardy?
I used to be.
Wow. You're out of the game, huh?
I don't really touch a lot of the tech stuff that much anymore, though.
Good for you. Well, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So, but Easy Webinar definitely makes it nice and easy. So you don't have to stress over being a tech nerd to set all this cool stuff up, too. So they're hooking you up with a fat discount because you're a listener or a viewer. Thank you. If you go to easywebinar.com/hustle, you will get a nice discount if you choose to join Easy Webinar and build on top of that platform.
Yes, sir.
It's a nice asset in your business. easywebinar.com/hustle.
Yes, go there and do that, and leave us a review. And we are occasionally reading the reviews. We forgot to do it on this episode.
We have no computers in front of us with reviews.
But we are reading reviews from time to time on the episode. So if you leave us a review, there's a good chance we'll read it. So leave us a review over on iTunes, subscribe, and do all that good stuff that we're supposed to tell you to do because we're podcasters.
I like that.
And
like
subscribe on YouTube because like we're gonna up the YouTube game. Like
it's in the works. We are.
You can already tell we're upping the YouTube game. We want to keep upping the YouTube game.
The more we move our hands,
If
the
I
more we are
flail-
popular on YouTube.
If I flail, the more we flail,
flail.
the less we fail.
There's a flailing perk of the algorithm that we haven't talked about yet. So
Yeah, we'll get into that when we look for an episode called
the flail. The
Flail
flail hack YouTube growth.
Flail Hacks
Get you to
2021.
the top of the ranks for
Yeah.
any keyword you want.
But yeah, follow
Flail
hustleandflowchart.tv, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the little bell, do all that kind of stuff because the YouTube is going to be where it's at for Hustle and Flowchart going into the
at, y'all.
future.
We got some exciting stuff. We will talk more in the future weeks to come because we're going to do more of these therapy sessions or whatever we call them.
Yeah.
But probably therapy sessions every Tuesday is
Yeah.
the plan. So be back then for us and see you Thursday.
See you Thursday for a guest episode.
That's right. Till next time.
Peace. Bye-bye.